Hey BookTube, I'm the Book Mage, welcome back to my channel. So you joined me on my living room floor today for a big unboxing of basically all like the subscription boxes I've gotten for October. So I think there's Fairyloot, the Evernight box, Goldsboro Broken Binding, Inkstone Books, and then just like a few other books that I've hauled within this month. I figured like sometimes, I know I tend to let my hauls get quite big, this is a smaller one. I figured sometimes I just kind of need to open some of the sub boxes like in the month that I actually get them. So I'm pretty sure that all of these are the October books, and there's quite a stack of them, if you can see these. So I have got a bit to get through, but like honestly it's not as much as usual. I think I have like 19 books, which to be honest is about half of what I've been hauling recently. So as usual I will include all of the timestamps if there's like a particular subscription that you want to skip to. So with that said, I think I'm going to start with the Fairyloot box. This is the Fairyloot adult box, I believe, for October. And the reason I'm going to start with this is because my friend finally got onto the Fairyloot subscription and she's been dying to talk to me about the books, and she can't because I don't know what they are yet. So oh, this is the point where I realise I need a knife. Not to be rude, but like this is the nearest knife to me and I can't use that. And don't worry about why I'm sitting on the living room floor. Like, how long has it been since we had just like a casual sat on the floor unboxing video? Okay, so the theme for this month is My Dear Nemesis, and I don't know if that spoils anything because I never read them, so I'm gonna put it over there. So this is the book. I'm seeing purple, which matches this theme. It's a little bit of a chunky one. Ooh, oh, okay. So first off, this is very shiny and look at the edges. Okay, and there is character artwork on the front, but I feel like it's like minimal and tasteful, so like it gets a pass. I'm loving the foils, like these shiny foils are beautiful. So this is the Hurricane Wars, and this is by Thea Guanzon. Now I have heard of this book, and the only reason I have heard of this book is because I often stalk the Waterstones special edition tab, and I had seen this book there. I think this has got a completely different cover though, because I don't recognize this cover at all. I usually tend to pre-order any like Waterstones special edition like adult fantasy, which supposedly this should be, but I'm sure I remember being on Waterstones and reading the description, which I do not remember, and I'm sure the reason I did not order it is because I was convinced that this was a teen book. Which doesn't surprise me for Fairyloot, because I swear their adult pics are never actually adult, but I'm just used to it at this point. Ooh, okay, it actually comes with a little like character art card which has the author letter on the back. My immediate first thoughts, I'm literally just, this is based on a fan fiction, isn't it? Do you want to know how I know? I'm sure these could be any two characters, but like this guy looks so much like the guy from the newer Star Wars films, Kylo Ren, the one that everyone likes and who I don't find compelling in any way. Is this like a fantasy Star Wars thing? It could, honestly, it could be like, I don't know, it just immediately gave me like, he looks like the guy, and she has a braid, and I feel like, I haven't seen all of the new Star Wars. I feel like this just gave me, it looked like Star Wars fan art, that's all I'm saying. Focusing on the book itself, because these sprayed edges are absolutely stunning. The end papers are foiled. I love this. I really do like the colour scheme. It's really pretty. Oh, this is, look at it! How did I start with this? Everything's going to be downhill from here because the specs on this book, the customizations, look at it. I really don't know what to say about this other than like even the spine is just, this is a genuinely stunning, like beautiful redesign. This is exactly what I want under the cover, is like a complete, like just a complete design. Like it's quite simple, but it's very, very effective and beautiful foils. Honestly, this is what I want. This might be one of the nicest books that Fairyloot has ever done. There's the, I'm guessing, the love interest on the back. Because like, look, I've made an assumption that the main character is going to be the girl. But I feel like with Fairyloot that's always a safe assumption. I can literally only think of one book Fairyloot have ever done with a male protagonist, and it was Babel. There's no reversible dust jacket, but honestly you don't need it. This is absolutely 10 out of 10. In terms of just the aesthetics. So let me look at the book choice. So I'm going to start with a quote on the back which says, "The Night Empire casts a long shadow over the land. Nothing can stand in the way of its might and power. Year by year the hurricane wars take, and yet there is hope in the darkness. One lone light stands against the empire." And I know empire is a fantasy trope, but I'm hearing Light side, dark side, Empire. Is this Star Wars fanfiction? Taliesin was left on the steps of a Sardovian orphanage as a baby. All she has ever known is the Hurricane Wars, as her people fight for freedom from the tyranny of the Night Emperor Gaheris. But are they truly her people? Taliesin dreams of one day finding where she comes from, her family, and the source of the magic that flows through her veins like sunlight. Is this new Star Wars fanfiction? It's definitely a fanfiction, but like, oh fuck off. It's just Star Wars. Alaric of the House Osanast, master of the Shadow-Forged Legion and Gaheris' only son and heir, has been honed into a weapon by his father. Tasked with obliterating the neighbouring Sardovian Allfold, Alaric focuses on only one goal: extinguish all threats to the Night Empire with his armies and his stormships and his shadow magic. That is, until he sees Taliesin burning brightly on the battlefield with the same magic that slew his grandfather, turned his father into a monster, and ignited the decade-long Hurricane Wars. He tries and fails to kill her, something about her making him pause, allowing his now greatest enemy to slip through his fingers. But a new horror emerges from across the Eversea, one that promises to cause even more devastation than the Hurricane Wars. Only Taliesin and Alaric can stop it. Will these mortal foes be able to come together, or will they end up destroying each other and dooming their world in the process? Okay, does anyone else get that vibe? Like, I know that so many of these are tropes, but the thing is, like, there's definitely been a phase cast, am I right? Am I right? It's the downside of having these little shit shells behind me, is that, like, I can't really stand up the hall. This wasn't part of the deal. So my next book is going to be the Illumicrate subscription book, and again, I believe this is the book for October. So, let's see. Ooh, this looks very autumnal. It's also very small and cute. This is After the Forest by Kel Woods. Very appropriate name. Look how beautiful the foil is on this. Like, the colour scheme is absolutely gorgeous. It's like green and this lovely bronze, and the sprayed edges are also wonderful. Oh, again, I feel like the books are killing it this month. Look at this, look at the foils on this. The spine. Honestly, the spine might be the most beautiful thing about this book. This is stunning. What does this say on the front? Oh, it's a little recipe. Is this like a little baking recipe? That's so cute. Yeah, I love this. Like, this is so sweet and dainty. I like the colour scheme of this cover, but this is everything. Honestly, this is like, it's not quite as like impressive, impactful as the Hurricane Wars, but this, I think I like this better. This is way much more like my vibe, my kind of thing. And again, I think it's because I love any sort of book that looks like a book from like the world it's from. If it looks like a book from a fantasy game, or it looks like a book from a sci-fi world, if it just looks like it could exist in that world, and this does, it looks like a little, it's like a little baking book. I'm guessing, yeah, I'm guessing this book has something to do with baking. Not something I'm good at. Yeah, the end papers are different on the back. I'm honestly not sure how much I like this artwork. It reads very, very young to me. I'll be honest, this reads very like Disney-fied to me. Oh, it's like a Hansel Gretel retelling. So this says, 20 years after the witch in the gingerbread house, Greta and Hans are struggling to get by. Their father and stepmother are long dead, Hans is deeply in debt from gambling, and the countryside lies in ruins, its people starving in the aftermath of a brutal war. Greta has a secret though. The witch's grimoire, secreted away and whispering in Greta's ear for the past 2 decades, and the recipe inside that makes the best gingerbread you have ever tasted. As long as she can bake, Greta can keep her small family afloat. But in a village full of suspicion, Greta and her mysteriously addictive gingerbread, not to mention the rumours about her childhood misadventures, are a source of gossip and suspicion. And now a dark magic is returning to the woods, and Greta's magic she's still trying to understand, may be the only thing that can save her if it doesn't kill her first. It seems like a more adult, like, follow-up to Hansel and Gretel. I feel like it could be interesting. I don't tend to read things that are this, maybe like low stakes, I guess. I feel like the fantasy I read tends to be like, oh, it's the end of the world or like nothing. So, but it's the kind of thing that I maybe could read. Like, I will give it a shot because it's different, and like, it didn't mention romance once in the synopsis. I'm not normally big on like fairy tale retellings, to be honest, but I could totally give that one a go. What I cannot do is bake. Every time I bake, it goes so wrong. I once baked a Victoria sponge cake and I had supervision. I had 2 fucking friends supervising me. And then we tried to eat it in the end, and it somehow burned as though it had chili in it. It did not, but it was probably my fault. Okay, and then following that up, we have the Evernight subscription for October. This is this a quarterly, I think, subscription? This is Illumicrate's like horror themed subscription, which this is only the second book, but the first one killed it. The first book, the design is possibly my favorite designed book we've ever gotten out of any box ever. So high praise. Like, this book has a lot to follow. So I feel like I'm expecting a lot, but let's see what we get. Hello? I can already kind of see it in here. Excuse? What are you? Okay. I mean, for horror, yes, absolutely yes. I want to say first off, this design is great. I love this. Like, the horror artwork is just, I am loving this. These sprayed edges as well are just insane. Like, these are absolutely gorgeous. I love these. This is a very thin book as well, and this is called Last to Leave the Room by Caitlin Starling. I have heard of this author. I don't think I've read anything by them. Okay, first of all, we've got a little, I need to stick this in now because I will forget if I don't. Okay, so honestly, the Under the Dust jacket is a little bit underwhelming, I think, compared to like the rest of this book, but I feel like it definitely fits the vibe of this book, and I do really like the design. Like, it is really cool. So I'm absolutely not mad at this. This is a really nice design. Like, I think, I'm not sure anything could ever come close to the last book we got from this subscription, like the first one. So I wasn't expecting it to necessarily be better, but I really like this. So we do also have, the end papers in this are pretty different. The one on the back has a very slightly different design. Kind of see like the first one versus the second one. So it says, the city of San Sirocco is sinking. The basement belonging to Dr. Tamsin Rivers, the arrogant, selfish head of the research team assigned to find the source of the subsidence, is sinking faster. As Tamsin grows obsessed with the distorting dimensions of the room at the bottom of the stairs, she finds a door that didn't exist before, and one night it opens to reveal an exact physical copy of her. This doppelganger is sweet and biddable, where Tamsin is calculating and cruel. It appears fully, terribly human, passing every test Tamsin can devise, but the longer the double exists, the more Tamsin begins to forget pieces of her life, to lose track of time, to grow terrified of the outside world. With her employer growing increasingly suspicious, Tamsin must try to hold herself together long enough to figure out what her double wants from her, and just where the mysterious door leads to. This actually sounds really interesting. October is over at this point, we're in November, but this is absolutely the kind of book I would like to pick up for a spooky season, or honestly just when I'm feeling like spooky horror vibes. This is exactly what I would expect from a horror subscription book box. I feel like this is a really interesting pick. It's not quite like in your face horror, it's like it's more of the horror that I think I prefer. But anyway, yeah, this is great. The books today, honestly great. The design on that though is so creepy, I love it. Okay, the next subscription I have here is my Goldsboro, and again, I believe this is the October book. I don't think Goldsboro do specifically like seasonal picks, but it will be interesting to see whether this is sci-fi or fantasy, because I really don't think I've seen any sci-fi from Goldsboro in like several months at least, so I'm totally guessing a fantasy. Okay. I need to get on track. This is my ring light, apparently. This is What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. But this is, it's giving me low fantasy, to be honest, but it looks very much like a Goldsboro pick, if that makes sense. What drew my attention, this is such a simple ombre, but this is like one of my favourite colours. Is there anything under? Yes! Oh, we get foils for once. This is gorgeous. Is this Egyptian? I'm getting, oh, it says it says Egypt on it. Okay, I'm just dumb or blind. The foils for this, once again, blowing out my white balance here. My only thing is, again, I feel like nearly all of Goldsboro's fantasy picks recently, and it's been so long since I can't remember a sci-fi. I don't remember one. Most of their fantasy also recently, or a lot of them, tend to be like just a historical story with a magical aspect, and I'm so not interested. In the glittering society of 19th century Buenos Aires, Inez Oliveira has everything except the one thing she really wants: her parents, who frequently leave her behind on their globe-trotting adventures. Then she receives a terrible letter. Her parents have passed away in mysterious circumstances. Determined to uncover the truth, she sets sail for their last port of call, Cairo, bringing only her sketch pads and an ancient ring that her father sent her for safekeeping. But upon her arrival in Egypt, the ring flares with ancient magic and Inez is thrust into a treacherous game that could threaten her life, and into the path of her new guardian's infuriatingly handsome assistant, who seems determined to thwart her at every turn. No. Look, this is gorgeous, but it's historical, it's low fantasy, and you tell me there's a love interest right there on the page. This is going to go into the pile of books that I will try a chapter of or a couple chapters of, and I'll either read it or I will unhaul it because it just isn't my vibe. You know, the design underneath was lovely, but it's so not my thing. Something that I know will be good though is the Broken Binding monthly book. I do already know obviously what I'm getting from the Broken Binding subscription. They reveal their subs like well in advance to let you know whether you want to skip it, because every 3 months they give you a whole trilogy, so you get book 1, then book 2, then book 3. So I believe the current books is the Powder Mage trilogy. Again, I love their presentation. I say it every time, I say the same words every time, but I do, I really like it. Oh, it's gorgeous, it's gorgeous. It's just a fantastic, beautiful hardback. So this is Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan, and this is a series that I've been very interested in reading, but again, Broken Binding coming out with like these fantastic like hardcovers. I think I have seen some of the artwork that they did for this, and it's so good. They kill it every time, they kill it every time. I mean, first of all, just like the wraparound artwork of this. The end papers though are just truly something else. Yeah, this was the piece of artwork that I saw, this one. That is just, I want to read this so bad. It's so stunning, and like with the sprayed edges. And on the back it says, "The age of kings is dead, and I have killed it. It's a bloody business overthrowing a king. Field Marshal Tamas's coup against the king has sent corrupt aristocrats to the guillotine and brought bread to the starving. But he knows that the battle is just beginning, because it also provoked war with the 9 nations, internal attacks by royalist fanatics, and a greedy scramble for money and power by Tamas's supposed allies, the church, workers' unions, and mercenary forces. Stretched to his limit, Tamas is relying heavily on his few remaining powder mages, including the embittered Taniel, a brilliant marksman who also happens to be his estranged son, and Adamat, a retired police inspector whose loyalty is being tested by blackmail. As attacks batter them from within and without, the credulous are whispering about omens of death and destruction, just old peasant legends about the gods waking to walk the earth. No modern educated man believes that sort of thing, but they should." I didn't even realise this was going to have old gods in it. Oh, please get in my brain. Broken Binding absolutely kill it every single time. They are by far my favourite subscription. I love the aesthetic and the designs of things like the Fairyloot and the Illumicrate, and like sometimes the books are good, but Broken Binding, the books are always good. There is never a bad book. There has never been a single series I don't want. It's always series that I really, really, really want. And again, like I do have 2 other Broken Binding books here. Before I get into those though, I will do my last subscription book, which is Inkstone Books. Inkstone Books is bi-monthly, and they do adult fantasy and sci-fi as well. And this is These Burning Stars by Bethany Jacobs. So the book does have these sprayed edges. My only gripe about this, definitely recognise this exact scale from another subscription book that I have, and I feel like it's exactly the same. So I feel like these are quite generic. Don't get me wrong, I love a sprayed edge, and I realise this company is quite young, and so it's going to take like time to ramp up to bigger designs. But it does mean that this is the kind of thing that you can do at home with just like a basic stencil, because I think these are all basic stencils. Ooh, do you know what you can't do though? Yes! Okay, first of all, I love this. What did I say about the fact that I love when a book looks like it could be from the world that it's from. So if this is a sci-fi, like if this was on like a bookshelf in a spaceship or some sort of like futuristic world, I would totally believe it. If this book was in a science fiction video game and it looked like this, I would believe it. The foil is always my favourite thing. Let's see what this is about. Jun Ironway, master hacker and occasional thief, has got her hands on a piece of contraband that could set her up for life. Evidence that implicates the powerful Nightfoot family in a planet-wide genocide. The Nightfoots control the precious Sevite that fuels interplanetary travel through 3 star systems, and someone is sure to pay handsomely for anything that could break their hold. Of course, anything that valuable is also dangerous. The Kingdom, the ruling power of the 3 star systems, can't afford to let Jun expose the truth. they tasked 2 of their most brutal clerics with hunting her down. Preternaturally stoic Chono and brilliant hothead Essek. But Chono and Essek are haunted in turn by a figure from their shared past, known only as Six. And the closer they get to finding Jun, the surer Chono is that Six is manipulating them all, and that they are heading for a bloody confrontation that no one will survive unscathed. This actually sounds really good. I am reading a sci-fi at the moment, and it's honestly so refreshing to just dip into sci-fi occasionally. So this is one that I'm definitely going to keep on my shelf. This will not be going into the reading or on haul it pile. This will be going into my, I think this is pretty good. And so when I feel like what sounds like a fun action-packed sci-fi with, I'm guessing, some twists and turns, this sounds really good. I'm really pleased about this, and again, I love the design. I'm assuming this is maybe going to be, it could be a standalone, but I feel like the symbol gives me the idea that maybe this is part of the start of like a duology or a trilogy, in which case I will try and keep my eye out for announcements of future books, because if Inkstone Books do like a matching copy, I will need to buy it. Okay, those are all my subscription books. The rest from here are special editions, and I do have like some just non-special edition books that I'll just like leave to the end. So I'm going to start out with some of the broken binding books. So the first one is The Art of Destiny. So this is the very chunky sequel to The Art of Prophecy, which I'm sure I only opened like a couple months ago. This is gorgeous though. I love the colour scheme. Like gold and like this royal blue go so well together. The artwork is also really lovely. So the under the dust jacket matches the foil design for book 1, but what I really love are the end papers. Full colour map end papers. Oh, always my favourite. I think the general premise of the first book was that the main character has been like trained his whole life to be part of this prophecy, but then I think the prophecy is fulfilled without him, like without his involvement. I know that when I read the synopsis the first time it sounded way better than that, so like don't trust me, like just Google it or something, because I'm probably not doing it any justice. But the next book I have, this is Wolves of Winter by Dan Jones. The sprayed edges on this is the sequel to Essex Dogs, which I have still not read yet. I believe this is, I don't want to read the back, but also it's historical, so like I've already been spoiled for everything that could happen in like these books in terms of like historical events, because I am alive in the real world. So like I'm pretty sure it was a group of guys, a group of like warriors from Essex going over to fight in France in, I forget what century exactly. It's not the thing that I normally pick up, but I do sometimes like historical, and specifically I tend not to like it when it's like a set-at-home kind of historical romance. But if it's like if you're on a battlefield, is there really that much difference between like a fantasy battlefield that doesn't have magic and just like an actual historical battlefield, if this is all about like just warriors and stuff? So I did want to pick it up for that reason, and obviously I could not resist the lovely matching hardback for book 2. I'm assuming it's a duology, but honestly, if there's a book 3, I'll probably pick it up as well. Okay, this next one is an Inkstone Books exclusive edition, and it's mainly just the sprayed edges that made me get this. And it is Starter Villain by John Scalzi. Now, I think this is the guy that wrote the, is it Kaiju Preservation Society book or something like that? That is the book of his that I'm probably most interested in reading, just because I've heard it's like a fun take on kaiju. This one had these sprayed edges, and I think that these are just beautiful, lovely sprayed edges. This is also signed, but yeah, I believe it doesn't have anything else special going on. The other thing is the other cover for this book has like a cat's face on it, which I honestly kind of prefer. Like, I needed these sprayed edges, and it's signed. So synopsis wise, it says, inheriting his late uncle's business proves complicated for Charlie. It's also way more dangerous than he could ever have imagined, because his uncle had kept his supervillain status a secret until now. Divorced and emotionally dependent on his cat, Charlie wasn't loving life. Although they weren't close, news of his Uncle Jake's death didn't help, and that was before Jake's rivals, seriously vengeful ones, ambushed his funeral. Now Charlie must decide if he should stay stuck in his rut or step up to take on the business, the enemies, the minions, the hidden volcano lair. Even hard to get used to are the sentient, language-using, computer-savvy cats. Oh my god, cats! Yes, please! And the fact that in the organization's hierarchy, they are management. Of course they are. Of course they are. You think if I had a talking cat minion, I'm not like putting them at the highest position possible? I'm doing that, thank you. If Charlie does say yes, this lifeline could become a death wish, because there's much more to being an evil mastermind than he suspected. Yet could this also finally be his chance to shine? It sounds so fun. And I have number 12. Jesus, I have number 12 out of 500. I guess I bought this real soon. So yeah, this just sounds fun. Like, it's super small, it had beautiful edges, it's signed. I had to get this. Next is my package from Brandon Sanderson. This is the last of the 4 secret novels. So it feels like forever ago that I backed this, but they're finally all out. First things first, we have this character pin. We have a sticker for the book, which is very gold and shiny. I quite like this design. We have a bookmark, and again, I'm loving this design. Honestly, really lovely. And lastly, the book. It's red. Have we always had designs on the back? Have we always had designs on the back? So this is The Sunlit Man by Brandon Sanderson. It's like got like 2 covers. Black edges. Love the black edges. Oh, this is stunning. This is so cool. I love it. What is this even about? These are the end papers. Is it the same on both sides? No, of course not. Why would it be the same on both sides? Look at that design. That's insane. I feel like this has had more stuff on it than the others. So let me consult the spoiler card. So this says, across planets, Nomad evades the relentless Night Brigade. Always running, he lands on the world of Canticle, where now he's not just fleeing his own problems, but a lethal sunrise that melts the very stones. Finding himself embroiled in the power struggle of local factions, can he stay one step ahead of his pursuers while navigating the perils of this new world? Honestly, that sounds so interesting. The story sounds really good. I have no idea when I'm going to get to this because I have so much Brandon Sanderson to read. If anything, we'll just take it as motivation to finally start like pushing on with that. Just a couple more special editions and then like some regular books and we're done. Okay, this next one is a Fairyloot box. So these are the Fairyloot editions of Iron Gold and Dark Age by Pierce Brown. So these are part of the Red Rising like expanded series, and these look fantastic. Again, I love how these line up. My favourite thing about these, again, is the cover. Like, do you know what I was saying earlier about like this one especially? And of course, like, I love the sprayed edges, black especially, but like I love this sort of like seafoam green. What I was saying, again, I love books that look like they could be part of the universe, and like these look like something that you would find in a sci-fi world. So I love the design of these books so much. The sad thing about that is that I very obviously do not have the original trilogy, and I'll be pissed at Fairyloot forever about it. I never managed to get them when they initially came out, and I did put my name on like their waitlist, like their notification for when they went back on sale again, because they did get some more stock in. They did like a reprint, and they never fucking emailed me. So the thing is, I know Fairyloot are going to be doing, they're redoing the original trilogy, but the thing is, right, this is what the original trilogy looked like, and I have never ever seen them go for less than £700 secondhand, and I'm not all about that life. I've seen these go for more than £1,000. The thing is, they're redoing them to look like this. It's so just not as good. I'm so sorry. It just looks so generic. It just looks so basic. Like, this kind of design that looks like I know they have no dust jacket, and the thing is, if the foils looked like this under the book, I would just take the dust jackets off, but they're not going to match this kind of design. I'm salty. So I bought these ones because I know I'm going to like them more than the whatever they're redoing now. I appreciate that they're redoing them, but like, if you're gonna do it again, do it better, not worse. Okay, with those out of the way, I think this next one is an Illumicrate box. So, oh, I remember what this is. I did not realise this had been sent. So these are the Illumicrate editions of the Magician series by Trudy Canavan. So the first one is the Magician's Guild, and look at the foil. Can you even see it? I mean, first off, it has beautiful red sprayed edges, but look at the foil on this. This is insane. Oh, and the quote? Like the quotation along the spine in gold. Beautiful. Again, I love when a book looks like it's a book from the world. It has character artwork as end papers. I believe these are digital signatures, but they come with like a little remark in them as well. That's lovely. Oh, these are so good. I did not remember seeing these foils when I bought them. I just know that I wanted this series. That is stunning. Let's see what the others look like. Okay, so book 2 is The Novice, and it has green edges. Okay, this one is grey and gold. I guess they're getting darker, so I'm guessing the last one's going to be black, but I really like that. It looks really good with the green, actually. I don't see many, like, although I was going to say you don't see many grey and gold books, but I'm sure this one was also grey and gold underneath, and I guess I just like that colour scheme. So these are the end papers, and it has the same signature again, and I almost forgot the quote on the spine, but like, these are so pretty. And lastly, book 3, The High Lord. Very deep blue sprayed edges. As expected, it is black. It's honestly more like a really dark grey. This is the quote on the spine. The foil stands out so much on this edition, and these are the end papers. So this is a really well-known, and I think like quite well-liked older fantasy series. I'm pretty sure it's about like a girl who's like a rogue, like untrained mage, but I am going to read from the synopsis because I cannot be trusted. Each year, the magicians of Imardin gather together to purge the city streets of vagrants, urchins, and miscreants. Masters of the disciplines of magic, they know that no one can oppose them, but their protective shield is not as impenetrable as they believe. Sonia, angry, frustrated, and outraged by the treatment of her family and friends, hurls a stone at the shield, putting all her rage behind it. To the amazement of all who bear witness, the stone passes unhindered through the barrier and renders a magician unconscious. The guild's worst fear has been realized. There is an untrained magician loose on the streets. She must be found before her uncontrolled powers unleash forces that will destroy both her and the city that is her home. This just sounds really good. I realize it has like so much room to grow and expand in terms of a story, but it sounds like it's going to have pretty simple but interesting beginnings, and it's one that I've seen for a while. Like, I've just never bought the paperbacks because it's like, well, I could buy them at any point, and I feel like that's the kind of book that I would only buy when I like wanted to get round to it. But if you bring out a special edition of something, I will buy it immediately. We all know this. So I believe that was my last special edition. I know, sad times, but the last couple books I have now are just regular off-the-shelf books because, like, you know, they're just humble, normal little books, but that I still really wanted. The first of which is The Deer Hoard by Hannah Vidine. So a while ago I picked up the Word Hoard, which is, it mainly focuses, I think, on like interesting etymology, and this is specifically, it's the same, but this is specifically to do with animals, and it's like a bestiary. Yeah, this is just looking at Old English etymology and language specifically for animals, and I know I'm gonna love it. I know I'm gonna love it. There's not really much else to say about this one other than this is the exact kind of book that, like, outside of fantasy is kind of my passion. Like, anything to do with like language, etymology specifically, but like, and I think this is gonna have like fun little tidbits of information as well. It's the perfect book for me, so I of course had to have this. Another book which I absolutely did not need to have, but which I bought because it was pretty and shiny, is Ruination by Anthony Reynolds. Now, before anybody starts, I did not know this was a League of Legends book. I don't know anything about League of Legends, but I have since been told that you do not need to know anything about League to read this book. And honestly, look, I am so sorry. I like myself too much to play League of Legends. I'm so sorry. But this cover, with like my favourite colour on it, and a sword, and it's fantasy, and a foil in like, again, basically my favourite colour, also of a sword, and this is like a standard hardback, but it had a foil. Like, if a standard hardback fantasy ever comes with a foil, you know I'm gonna have it. And these beautiful end papers, again, so close to my favourite colour. Oh, and did I mention, I forgot about this, it has a reversible dust jacket with like character artwork on it. And this is just from like Waterstones. This is not, it's not a special edition. Like, this is the version you get on Amazon or at, I don't know any American bookshops, I'm sorry, but like, I'm sure it's the same version. Let me double check the synopsis. Camavor is a brutal land with a bloody legacy. Where the Empire's knights go, slaughter follows. Callista seeks to change that. When her young and narcissistic uncle Viego becomes king, she vows to temper his destructive instincts as his loyal confidant, advisor, and military general. But her plans are thwarted when an assassin's poisoned blade strikes Viego's wife Isolde, afflicting her with a malady for which there is no cure. As Isolde's condition worsens, Viego descends into madness and grief, threatening to drag Camavor down with him. Callista makes a desperate gambit to save the kingdom. She searches for the long-lost Blessed Isles, rumoured to hold the Queen's salvation if only Callista can find them. But corruption grows in the Blessed Isles capital, where a vengeful warden seeks to ensnare Callista in his cruel machinations. She'll be forced to choose between her loyalty to Viego and doing what she knows is right. For even in the face of utter darkness, one noble act can shine a light that saves the world. It just sounds like a decent fantasy read. I know it's like a League of Legends book, but like, it has a foil, it has a reversible dust jacket. I was gonna buy it and give it a chance. I know nothing about League of Legends, but a Reddit thread on the matter did tell me that like, you don't have to have background knowledge of like having played the games or the characters or anything to read this book. I'm sure it will enhance it, much like reading anything like the Dragon Age books or Mass Effect novels or anything like that. Obviously a knowledge of the game will probably enhance your enjoyment of this, but I wanted this pretty shiny book, and the plot doesn't sound bad. If the plot sounded awful, then I just wouldn't have bought it, but I could convince myself that I have a good potential to like this book, so that's why I have it. From that to like the exact opposite, I think. Here is a book that is so ugly. I hate everything about it. I'm not convinced that this is not AI artwork, and I need a way to figure out whether it is or not, but it could just be disgusting artwork. And it is Lost Valentines by SP Somto. This is a collection of like vampire stories from the same world as Vampire Junction. I was meant to read Vampire Junction in October as part of my like Halloween reading, and I didn't, but I did pick this up anyway. This I think is like a collection of short stories and novellas and stuff set in the same world, so not specifically any of the sequels, which I still don't own, but this was just like a hardback copy of some of the other collected stories, either about the same characters or like in the same universe. Can we just appreciate how fucking gross this cover is? I hate it. I hate everything about it. That's not a hand. That's not what fingers do. None of these are like, how many fingers do they have? Excuse me. It's gotta be AI, right? And if it is, I hate that, because I'm vehemently against AI artwork. Like, it's got to be, because like I can't tell what's going on the back. Hey book, what is this? My brain cannot parse this. Like, what is it? None of this should be. It gets worse under the dust cover though. Like, if you thought that was bad, it's genuinely vile. It's so gross. Just for YouTube does not like nipples, but like, look at this. What is this face? And also, like, her hand just becomes her leg. Let me just name and shame the publisher. Who out here is too cheap to pay an artist? Diplodocus Press? Oh, I'm British from the 90s, so I probably would say Diplodocus, but like... Yeah, so this book does have actual regular illustrations in it, which makes me think, why would they not just pay for somebody to do the cover art? Hey, everything about this, I have no passion to rebind this book. Some of it doesn't look like an artistic choice. It just looks like shit is melting into each other, and like, not in a good way. I genuinely might have to get rid of this cover and burn it, because I hate AI artwork. It's not artwork, it's just theft. I'm getting onto a rant, but I didn't know that when I purchased the book. I am mad about it. And from that to the last book in my haul, which I actually picked up for a readathon, believe it or not. I think this one's just for me. It's Beowulf, and this is specifically Tolkien's translation and like accompanying commentary on Beowulf. I have read Beowulf before. I read it many years ago. But I have never read Tolkien's translation. Although the guy that taught me Old English had been one of Tolkien's students, so like I got to hear some of Tolkien's lectures recycled, not quite verbatim, but like I still think that's pretty cool. Yeah, Beowulf. The reason I picked this up now is because I have been wanting to jump back into a lot of, I guess, the classics. Do I even say classics? Like, it is a classic, but like I'm talking about much older literature, so I want to jump back into Beowulf, I want to jump back into the Eddas. I want to read a lot more historic literature. Old English is just, I just feel like it's an area that I'm just so interested in, and I want to reread Beowulf. Like, it's good, and I'm very interested to see like so much, like, where does this end? Like, this is Beowulf, and this is all like Tolkien chatting about it, but I'm very interested to hear it. So the reason I got specifically Tolkien's translation, I realize I'm boring everyone, I'm so sorry, is that so many other translations tend to be, I guess they're made very, very accessible. So you get some very literal translations, and then you get some that are kind of more like easily readable and easily digestible. Tolkien writes much in the same way that he does for The Lord of the Rings, so it's very poetic, it's still quite archaic feeling, and it tends to capture, I think, much more of the original vibe, and it feels more like you are reading something which is very old and is not being totally modernized in its translation. And that is what I like to suggest starting with Tolkien's translation, unless you really like stuff which is verbose and poetic, and again still a little bit, I guess, archaic feeling in its choice of words and its lexis. So I'm really, really interested to pick this one up and read it, and the reason I got it now is because I really want to take part in a November readathon, and I've kind of already committed to it at this point, but it is Books to Ashes readathon, and it's called like the Library of Dragons, and basically it's so fun. But like you'll make like a dragon companion based on the books you read. It sounds so fun. And the first challenge that the one you have to do is you have to read a book with a dragon in it, and Beowulf has a dragon in it. But yeah, I have to finish this book in November to get myself a little dragon companion. And I'm so sorry that I've just ranted for like the past 5 minutes about Beowulf of all things, but like, look, come on. It is just in my nature. So that was my haul. Those were all of my books. I'm pretty sure there were 19. And now I have to clean up this mess because like I'm just bubble wrap everywhere. So once again guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if, I want to say like the shorter haul format works, but like just let me know in the comments if you guys prefer book hauls which are like shorter and more timely, or do you prefer book hauls which are just like an hour long and it's just me hauling literally everything from the past couple months, because I'm honestly not sure which works better for me. And if you made it this far in the video, leave me a little dragon emoji, because I can see this sitting here and it looks very much like the little dragon emoji. So with that said, I believe this is the end of this video. Thank goodness, I better go clean up. So I hope you enjoyed this and hopefully I'll see you guys again in the next video. Bye!